O'clock, and today is Tuesday, September 19th, 2017, and I'll call the Greensburg City Board of Zoning Appeals meeting to order. If you'd all rise and face the flag and recite after me the pledge. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
At this time, please silence all electronic devices, and to comply with Title VI of the Civil Rights Act of 1964, the city requests that participants at this meeting complete a voluntary anonymous survey that is available on the table in the back of the room. John's not here. Chris, are you taking
me today? Yes.
Okay, will you call the roll, please?
Christian Rust.
Present.
Rich Richardson.
Here.
Steve Raymer.
Here.
Bruce Bockover.
Here.
Roy Middendorf.
Present. Okay, before you is a copy of the minutes from the August meeting of the BZA. You take a minute, if you haven't had time, to review those and see if there's any questions. I had looked at them earlier and I didn't have any, but maybe I missed something. I'm not the best, so if I don't hear any, I'd entertain a motion that we approve the minutes from the August meeting.
I'll make the motion to approve them.
Okay, I'll second.
Motion's been made and seconded to approve the minutes from the August meeting. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Against, same sign. Hearing none, the minutes stand approved. New business. Shawn Tobin. They are requesting a special exception to 325 West Main Street. Property is owned by Paul Cruzan and Julie Acra, and it's for RV sales in a B1 Central Business Zone.
Oh, I'm here.
Okay. You want to come forward first, Kathy, and fill us in a little bit, and then.
It seems like a few weeks ago, I was approached by a realtor indicating that she had a client that was looking for a spot to put an RV sales and service. And I also talked to Mr. Tobin at the time. There was a couple sites he had mentioned that he was interested in, and those sites just did not seem suitable for that area. In the meantime, he was located, I think we all know it as the Renner Honda building behind the BP station along Kathy's Way by the YMCA. He was there, and a new owner came in, and he was asked to leave the building. He was evicted from the building and had nowhere to go. So he was able at that time to relocate his RVs to a local truck sales and service here in town for a few days, but could only leave him there for a short period of time because it was a tight-fitting spot. Nevertheless, the realtor called me and indicated they had found a location and asked if it was zoned properly, because it just came to her that maybe it's not zoned quite right for the RV sales and service. And it was not. And it is the building that you see before you, Paul and Julie, or I should say Julie Acra and Paul Cruzan's property at 325 West Main Street. There was a better look, we all know the property. And there's a look at some of the RVs he has located there now. It's kind of in a good spot for me because I can see it out my window. Noticed on August 31st that those have been placed on there. And so I let Andrea know that he was in zoning violation because the property is not zoned properly and that he could be fined. Now it is up to the board to decide how much of a fine we, if any, that we put on Mr. Tobin for being in zoning violation. And Mr. Tebby can go over that later for us if you'd like, to the penalty clause. But the location that he's in, if you recall years ago, it used to be Cars and Campers or Hather's Auto Sales. So I kind of see it being a good fit and a good location. because he has the highway frontage, and there is something at least on that lot that's being used, you know, and we all like to see growth here in town. So, and especially an old vacant building being used again. So I see this being a good fit for him at the present time. However, it's unfortunate that it wasn't zoned properly and that he had nowhere to go, so he went ahead and put the RVs there. So, Mr. Tobin, do you have any other questions or concerns you would like to approach the board to?
No,
So, to me, it's a good fit. It's up to you to decide, of course, but I see this being a good use for the lot. And as to where we fine him and how much we fine him, it is under our penalty clause considered a Class C infraction. And a Class C infraction, I guess, Chris, if you want to explain that a little bit, we can fine him so much and up to so much, and each day is a separate offense.
I believe the max is $2,500. Minimum's $10. To be consistent with other ordinances, a lot of times Class C infractions in our ordinance book is $25 per day. Fine, $25 per day.
And that's consistent with what we've done in the past.
Yes.
It's consistent with the ordinance book. I'm not sure about the past.
Well, I don't know. I don't right offhand remember every time we've done this, so that would be fairly consistent.
Yes, I believe it to be
What would
very.
that be? What would that be, figuring out dollar-wise, if we
That should be $500.
would it? All right. I was over there this morning and spoke with Mr. Tobin, and also, before I go any further, where's my letter at? I need to read this letter. This is from Dwayne Maddox, owner of Maddox Movage Storage and Auction, which you know is located right to the south of this. City of Greensburg, this is dated September 18th, 2017. City of Greensburg Board of Zoning Appeals. In reference to the letter we received last Thursday regarding the permitted exception of RV and car sales at 325 West Main Street, Maddox Moving, Storage and Auction has in theory no objection to this matter, but we would like for everyone, including the property owners and renters, to be on the same page and to respect what the correct property designations are for Lot 22 and 23, as there already has been some discrepancy to what the property lines are. Ultimately, we want to continue to be respectful and accommodating to our business neighbors. Dwayne Maddox, owner, Maddox Moving, Storage and Auction.
And I believe he's referring to this lot right here.
Correct. As I said, I was there today talking with Brian and Mr. Tobin. That area you're showing there to the bottom of your screen where you had the pointer, that seemed there was some campers in there, and Mr. Tobin said that he had told Mr. Maddox they would be out of there by Friday, I believe. Am I right, Shawn?
yes.
Okay. So, and again, in the future, that when they would rent that property, that needs the rentor needs to make that clear that that part of that lot is not his. It's not with their property. And that would be, if we would improve this, I would like a motion that would state that nothing, that the property lines would be respected both there and any frontage dealing out toward the street as far as city right of way or whatever we have there. It's just what we put on normally. And I think that, this is just me speaking personally, I think that there needs to be some type of fine levied just to be consistent, and so that we don't create an exception where someone down the road says, you didn't find that guy over there when he did it, which we've all been hearing long enough to have heard that complaint before.
if it has been indeed 20 days, if it was the 31st, that's where I came up with.
Right, that would be, I mean, again, I think that would be being consistent with the ordinance and that's what should happen, but any other discussion by board members on this matter?
Well, I noticed that on this new business, it just says for RV sales, and in Kathy's statement, he said RV sales and service.
No, it says RV and car sales and service.
Okay, but
I think he's talking about on our little note that we have here, it just says, it does just say sales on
But it
it.
was advertised as
Right,
RV.
the actual ad said.
yeah.
Both. So, when I spoke, we can ask Mr. Tobin, but when I spoke to him, he said he is not a used car salesman, but occasionally he does have people that want to trade cars on other items that he does have for sale, and he might want to sell that there. But this is no way to be construed with his towing service, which he offers, and he has his own lot for that, which is located where, Shawn?
1341 Century Circle East. It's behind Reclaim.
Right, it's over in our area over there, so that's where his towed vehicles go. Anybody else? Yeah.
So where the RVs and motorhomes are parked at this current time, that's where the remaining parking would be for those type of vehicles that would be to be sold. Is that correct?
Yes.
Not anywhere else on the lot itself?
Just-
That's the designated area.
Shawn, would you like to come up to the
Okay.
podium?
And you just for the record, speak your name so we have it, please.
Shawn, Tobin. And just mainly where you see it on the picture, and then, we might put something like sell ATVs, golf carts, UTVs. We might have them out front, where the side door, our door is. There's parking spaces there. We might put some outside there, but there'd be no campers. We've got enough parking there for campers. But all the big campers would be out where they're at now. But we might, like I said, motorcycles, we sell all kinds of power sports. They could be out front of the doors there, so we can keep watchful eye on them and stuff.
On the east side you're talking about, or out front of the doors on the north side?
It would be the east side, I believe.
The east side?
Yeah, his door's
On the
right
east
on the
side,
east
yeah.
side, where where that tool place was and that other businesses have been in the past, on that side is where it is.
Yeah, there's parking spots there
Yeah.
where we park that now, but I mean, you will see a ton, there's ATVs, UTVs, and golf carts out there.
Any other questions?
And are you going to be? I see where the parking is. Is it also the lot where Mark's or that restaurant used to be on the corner? Is that included in that as well?
No, that's Steve Barnes' property
Oh,
there.
okay.
I just want to make sure that we stay back a safe distance from the right-of-way where people have the exit, the entrance out to that Mill Street and out to Main Street.
Yeah, we do, like I said, there was, the state of Indiana told me, that's city property, but they told me you need to keep at least 10 feet. So, we stay more than that, so.
Okay.
Thank you, Sean.
Thank you.
Is there anybody from the audience here to speak on this? Dwayne, I see you back there. Did you want to say anything?
No, I was my only concern about the property line.
Okay.
And he might not have knew it or at the time, but that's my main
Okay,
concern.
well, I come by and talk to Ryan today and then.
Yeah, he said you did, but that was my main concern.
Okay.
That was it for me.
Anybody else from the audience to speak on this issue? If you would, sir, come forward and state your name for the record.
My name is David Rickey. My wife Susan and I are both adjacent property owners and received notice of this appeal. The comment I would like to make is that this is a very high visibility piece of property on Main Street in a town that's very well maintained, and this property has not been maintained in the past. There's been no attention to weeds or control of weeds growing up through the cracks in the pavement. And now this owner comes forward asking for a variance, permission to do something else with the property but he hasn't taken care of it in the past. I fail to see how an allowance to establish an operation to sell campers and RVs or whatever else he's going to sell there can be considered an improvement. Considering the individual that's asking this to be done, he's highly capable of turning this into an open air impound yard.
Thank you. Anybody else from the audience here to speak on this issue?
I'd like to have Paul come up to the mic too, if we can ask him some questions.
Sure, that's fine.
How are you guys?
Pretty
Fine.
good.
State your name for the record, please.
Paul Cruzan.
Thank you.
Paul, Mr. Ricky's raised a good point.
Yeah.
And I guess the special exception does ask for sales and service. I don't think there's any inside space available for service for RVs or automobiles.
Well, we do have the back building, which is a wash rack.
Does he have
So-
to rent it?
No, but he could.
He
It's
could, but he,
it's open. So
and how much parking space is he allotted?
I'm not sure. I've talked to Andrea tonight about that.
So he could park them all the way around the building?
No, because I've got the building's not empty.
No.
Pregnancy care center's in
But there's-
there. The WIC office is on the other side, so there's really no parking on David's side at all. So
What do you have to say about, and you think this will be an improvement for your business?
I think it will. Yeah. It's tough to cash flow if you don't have if the building's half empty. So, and now in addition to this tenant, we've got another tenant. Andrea's been kind of proactive in getting more tenants in there. So hopefully once we get that done, then we can do some upgrades. So I definitely understand what David's saying. So I understand he owns a brand new building right next to ours. So.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm just concerned about service or maintaining campers outdoors and what that's going to turn into.
Yeah. I mean, I can't answer that. I never
I
rented to
can't
him.
answer
So
that.
right.
That's my concern.
Yeah.
Any other questions? You
I'm
done
done.
that? Sure. Anybody else have anything for Paul?
Mr. Tobin.
Shawn?
Yeah, I was just gonna say, we do not, and I want to emphasize, we don't service,
Guys,
Yeah, you're good. Thank
we
you.
don't service any items there. I have a location in Shelbyville that we service our items in. That's just a sales lot. In reference to cleaning up the place, we've already made improvements just in a week over there. We sprayed all the weeds. You walk over there now or drive over and you see they've turned brown. A lot of them have been pushed back. Picked up all the broken glass, cigarette butts, everything that people throw in the parking lot over. We already cleaned that up beside the building and back. We filled a dumpster full before we ever moved in, full of stuff that people throw out, mattresses and stuff like that. I'm having window perfs put on. That's going to really brighten up the building, make it look very presentable when you do that.
But you're not planning to have any kind of impoundment?
No, like I said, I have a place for my impound. I mean, you don't have a fence over here, so you can't impound nothing. That's just, that is strictly a sales lot. I mean, we don't do anything there but strictly sales. You can't park an impound on a blacktop lot. That's the state, there's state guidelines for that. A lot of people don't realize that, but there are state and federal guidelines on impounds. So we keep all our stuff inside. I run 3 different locations, Indianapolis, Shelbyville, and here now. So there is no service work done over there. Occasionally, I emphasize occasionally, we might hire somebody to come in and wash one, pressure wash. Every car dealer has somebody mobile services come down and wash a few occasionally. That's all you're going to see. That's just water. But we do, and I emphasize we don't do any service in reference to cleanup. We've made major cleanup improvements over there already.
Any other questions for Shawn? All right, Shawn, thank you.
Thank you.
Anything else?
Can this be made, can we put a time on this when we have to revisit this, like next year or
Yes, you
anything
can
like
give,
that?
you can grant them a 1-year variance and then have them revisit this next year.
We've done that in the past to see
Yeah.
what the impact was and see if there was complaints. If Kathy's office would feel, or the mayor or anybody up here, if someone would come and complain, we can review that at the end of the year. We can grant that for 1 year with a review.
Okay, is there a limit to how many campers he can have on the property?
I don't know that we can limit it, but you're pretty much limited by the space. It would depend on the size, I would think, but the
Well,
camper.
Paul couldn't tell me a space, he couldn't say how many parking spaces he
Well,
had.
I don't know that you can, there's really nothing on that side from what I saw today that was actually designated, but if he moves those, pardon me, if he moves those ones that were on Dwayne's property today, if he moves them over, I don't know that you can get more than what he's got there now, which, what is there, Shawn, are there 7 there?
I believe there's 9.
9? Okay, that sounds right, 9. And I don't know that you could get any more than that on there as far as the campers go. Now, the smaller stuff that he sells, the ATVs and that, which would be more along the building side, again, you'd be limited just by the size of those vehicles and the space. You might get 10 of them in there. I don't know for sure if you could, but you might. But I don't know that you could get many more campers in there just physically once he moves those ones off Maddox property. I don't know that we want to try and limit. I don't know if I like. I mean, if you just make it fit within the boundary, that's pretty much what we're better off doing.
Yeah, if we put a limit to it, then we have to police how many he's got there.
Exactly. So I think it would just be better to make him understand where his property lines are and keep his items on his property. And I'm sure one of the Maddoxes will let us know if it doesn't get off their property. So since I've received 2 phone calls already about it. But that's okay, Ryan, and I know each other.
I'm glad he's got your number.
Well, we serve on, and fortunately or unfortunately, Ryan and I are both on tourism board, so we have to communicate about that. So having each other's phone numbers kind of a necessity. So anything else?
I would just like to make a comment that I would be in favor of revisiting this in a year's time to see how this business has operated within that time frame.
Okay. So can I have does someone want to make a motion then? That we approve this for 1 year?
I'll make the motion that we approve this request
It's a special
Special
exception.
exception, yeah.
for Mr. Tobin, and then we come back in 1 year to revisit to see how it's for the city and the neighboring property owners.
All right, I have a motion. Do I have a
Okay,
second?
I think we need to carry on with the fine and
Oh, yeah, well, I'm gonna make that a separate thing that we'll
deal.
talk about. Okay, first whether we're gonna grant this, and then secondly, the fine.
Okay,
At least that was my plan, if that's okay.
okay, so,
That's all right.
so,
Do I have a second for this motion?
yeah, I'll second.
Motion's been made and seconded that we approve the special exception for 325 West Main Street. Chris, would you call the
1
roll?
year, for 1 year with.
For 1 year, yes, sir.
Christian,
Yes.
Rich,
No.
Steve,
No.
Bruce,
Yes.
Roy.
Yes. Now, revisiting the second part, I would entertain a motion that we fine Mr. Tobin $25 a day, which is, as Christian said, $500 total for being in violation of the zoning ordinance. Do I have that motion?
Is it the BZA's responsibility to assess fines?
I believe,
Kathy, can you address that?
On this matter, yes, it is your responsibility to assess a fine to him, and it's up to the board to decide how much of a fine. We can advise you what the penalty clause says, but however, it is up to the board to decide the amount,
This one.
this board right here. And like, Mr. Tebby had stated, it's anywhere from $10 a day all the way up to $2,500 a day. So you can make it any amount you see feasible, or you do not have to fine him at all. It's entirely up to this board.
Well, I would think that Mr. Tobin could take that money that we could fine him and use for improvements and signage on his property. To maybe help make improvements and clean up like Mr. Ricky spoke about. So I'm not gonna recommend a fine.
Okay. Christian?
I would recommend the fine just for the sole purpose of setting the precedent. So if someone else comes forward, we don't get into so we have equal treatment for everyone across the way.
Okay. Bruce? I'll poll everybody and see what they
Okay.
think.
Due to the way this came about and the way it was done, when he was notified that he wasn't in the right area for this type of business, I would say that he should be fined. And let him know that, and let other people know that just can't happen without them checking with the city to find out when it comes to starting a business.
All right. Steve?
I've been throwing this back and forth in my head. I think there probably should be some kind of penalty. That I personally have a problem with us setting the dollar amount for the fine.
We need to enact on this in some way
Early.
or the other. But
What's your
I'll
opinion?
speak. I think that something should be done just for the same reason that Christian and we discussed a little bit earlier, that we need to do something so that people don't think that there's who cares what the zoning board says, I'm gonna do what I want anyway. That's what I don't want.
Just protect us.
The minimum amount is what, $10?
Yes.
Well, you want a motion?
Yeah, I need a motion to do
Okay,
so.
I'll make a motion that we fine Shawn Tobin $25 a day from the 31st?
Yes.
The 31st of August to today. Or, yes, until today.
Okay, so motion's been made. Do I have a second?
I'll second that.
Motion's been made and seconded that the board BZA fine Mr. Tobin $25 a day, which we believe is $500 for basically 20 days. Chris, will you call the roll?
Christian,
Yes.
Rich,
Yes.
Steve,
No.
Bruce,
Yes.
and Roy.
Yes. So we're done. We've granted the special exception and instituted the fine. So we're done with that portion of the business. There's also something on here called miscellaneous. Does anybody have anything? Kathy, do you have something for us? No. Does anybody else have anything? Hearing nothing, I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
So
We're done.